Understanding the Shadow Introduction. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, is renowned for his profound contributions to the understanding of the human psyche. One of his most influential concepts is the idea of the shadow. The shadow refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains all the aspects of ourselves that we either deny, repress, or fail to acknowledge. It consists of the hidden parts of our personality that we have not accepted, whether consciously or unconsciously. The shadow isn't just a place for our vices and flaws. It also holds parts of our character that we have not yet fully developed or expressed. These could include unrealized potential, talent, or desires that we suppress because they do unalign with our conscious sense of self or society's expectations. We tend to push away emotions and traits that are socially unacceptable or culturally frowned upon. The repression of emotions like fear or guilt can leave a person feeling disconnected from their true self, constantly at odds with their inner world. Instead of helping us feel more at peace, repression keeps us stuck in a cycle of self-denial, where we are unaware of the very forces that are driving our behavior. The more we try to deny or ignore the existence of our shadow, the more it controls us. We may think that by avoiding these negative traits or emotions, we are maintaining control over our lives, but in reality, we are allowing them to act on us unconsciously. The traits we push down are still present, operating just beneath the surface, influencing our action, decisions, and relationships without us even realizing it. But repression does not mean elimination. In fact, it makes these qualities more powerful and harder to control. Jung argued that the shadow is not something we should be afraid. Instead, it contains wisdom and valuable insights that can help us grow as individuals. Our dark side, or shadow, is not the enemy. It is simply a part of us that we have yet to understand. By accepting and integrating our darker aspects, we free ourselves from the unconscious pull that these traits have on our behavior. Rather than suppressing anger, we learn to channel it into constructive action. These practices allow us to explore our unconscious mind and begin the process of shining a light on the parts of ourselves that have remained hidden for so long. Instead of viewing it as something to be feared or eliminated, we must treat it as a part of ourselves that needs to be understood and integrated. By doing so, we can begin to understand the true complexity of our being and unlock the potential that lies hidden within the shadows of our psyche. Jung also suggested drawing mandalas as a way to access the unconscious. He believed that the symmetrical patterns of mandalas could serve as a mirror to the psyche, revealing the deeper parts of ourselves that we might be unaware of. Instead of denying our insecurities, we face them and work towards self-improvement. Ultimately, this process leads to a greater sense of authenticity as we are no longer pretending to be someone we are not. We become more complete, whole individuals. When we suppress something, we are essentially giving it more energy, but in a hidden, unconscious way. For example, a person who represses their anger may appear calm and composed on the surface, but this anger will inevitably leak out in moments of stress or frustration. For instance, someone who recognizes that they have a tendency toward jealousy may not be able to eliminate the jealousy altogether, but by confronting it, they can learn to understand the underlying fear or insecurity that causes it. They might discover that their jealousy is rooted in a lack of self-confidence. And through this awareness, they can begin to work on building self-esteem. Ignoring the shadow doesn't lead to personal growth. Instead, it creates dissonance between our conscious self and our unconscious mind. It's like living a double life. We present one version of ourselves to the world, while another hidden version is simmering below the surface, waiting to burst forth in unexpected ways. For example, someone who suppresses feelings of inadequacy might become a perfectionist, but no matter how successful they become, their sense of inadequacy still lingers in the background, affecting their self-esteem and happiness. They might snap at someone unexpectedly or find themselves engaging in passive-aggressive behavior. For instance, someone who identifies as a kind, generous person may push down their feelings of anger or envy, thinking of them as incompatible with their image of being a good person. Jung called this process individuation. Involves integrating all aspects of the self, including the shadow, so that we can live in a way that reflects the totality of who we are. This process can be challenging because it requires us to confront the very parts of ourselves that we have been avoiding for so long. These include negative traits such as anger, envy, greed, jealousy, selfishness, and even aspects of ourselves that we deem undesirable or unworthy. Instead, they are buried deep within the unconscious mind, and they will manifest in subtle ways through unexpected emotional outbursts, actions, or dreams. The shadow, then, is not a single trait or part of ourselves, but a complex collection of everything we are not willing to accept. It includes both our negative tendencies and our repressed potential. However, unlike what many may initially think, the shadow is not inherently bad. It is simply the repository of all the traits that we are unaware of or refuse to face. The nature of the shadow. Jung describes the shadow as a dark side of the psyche that exists in all of us. However, these traits don't vanish simply because we refuse to acknowledge them. The role of repression. The repression of these undesirable aspects of ourselves is a natural human reaction. Jung believed that repression can lead to internal conflict, which, if unresolved, can result in psychological issues such as anxiety, depression, and feelings of emptiness. The danger of ignorance. One of the greatest dangers, according to Jung, is the ignorance of the shadow. Jung suggests that to live authentically, we must shine a light on these unconscious parts of ourselves. Facing the darkness, the key to integrating the shadow is not to fight it or pretend it doesn't exist, but to face it. Yet, it is only by acknowledging and understanding the shadow that we can begin to move toward wholeness. The benefits of integration. Integrating the shadow does not mean that we suddenly embrace all our negative traits. Rather, it means we acknowledge them as part of our human experience and use them to fuel our personal growth. Jung believed that only by embracing our shadow can we achieve a more balanced life. Shining a light on the shadow to begin integrating the shadow. Jung recommended self-reflection practices such as meditation, journaling, and creative expression. The key to understanding the shadow is to approach it with curiosity and compassion.
Befriending the shadow is a friend. Once we start to understand and acknowledge the shadow, it transforms from something to fear into something we can learn to embrace. Carl Jung famously suggested that instead of rejecting our dark side, we should befriend it. Our shadow is not an enemy. It is a part of us that, when understood, can serve as a valuable ally. The shadow serves as a mirror to our hidden self. When we deny certain traits, we prevent ourselves from fully understanding our potential. Once we befriend the shadow, we are able to see the parts of ourselves that are hidden from our conscious mind. This recognition opens doors to growth that were previously closed to us. The traits and emotions we often push away, such as anger, greed, and fear, carry with them important lessons that we can use for personal growth and self-improvement. Jung taught that by acknowledging our dark side, we open ourselves to the possibility of receiving guidance from it. The shadow doesn't just bring negative traits to the surface, it also gives us insight into how we can navigate difficult situations, grow emotionally, and take charge of our lives. Befriending your shadow means accepting all parts of yourself, even the parts you might dislike or fear the most. Shadow's role in personal development. These lessons may not always be easy to accept, but they provide us with a clearer path forward. Let's explore some examples of how the shadow can guide us. Instead of feeling ashamed of our flaws or weaknesses, we learn to see them as opportunities for growth. But Jung believed it could be a powerful force for positive change. But if they learn to listen to their anger, it can motivate them to take action, speak up, and demand fairness. Anger, when understood and channeled, can be a tool for social justice and personal empowerment. It allows us to protect our boundaries and fight for what is right, rather than passively accepting mistreatment. Anger is often an emotional reaction to injustice, unfair treatment, or personal violation. By repressing anger, we deny ourselves the ability to respond to these situations in a healthy way. However, Jung suggests that laziness could also be an expression of the need for rest, relaxation, and recovery. If we are in denial about our own insecurities, we may project those insecurities onto others, perceiving them as weak or inadequate. By examining our judgments of others, we can begin to recognize our own projections and use them as a guide to understanding our hidden feelings and traits. To live authentically, we must be willing to acknowledge every part of ourselves, including the traits we are ashamed of or afraid to confront. The journey to authenticity requires confronting our deepest fears, our most uncomfortable emotions, and the traits we have spent years hiding from ourselves. But the reward of this journey is immense. A life of greater self-acceptance, peace, and wisdom. By doing so, we gain greater self-awareness and can make more empowered choices in our lives. If we ignore our need for rest, we risk burnout and exhaustion. The shadow will continue to evolve, and so must our relationship with it. By embracing the lessons and wisdom the shadow offers, we learn to live in a more balanced and authentic way. This is the power of integrating the shadow into our conscious self. It helps us uncover our true potential and navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. By acknowledging our desire to relax and allowing ourselves the permission to do so, we can restore our energy and be more productive when we return to our work. Our busy, fast-paced world often discourages people from taking the time to rest, leading them to feel guilty or unworthy when they take breaks. But in truth, rest is essential for mental and physical health. And allowing ourselves to acknowledge our need for downtime is important for overall well-being. However, when we embrace our anger, we recognize it as a signal that something is wrong and needs to be addressed. For example, someone who has always suppressed their anger may feel that they are not allowed to express it yet. Jung suggests that greed can, in certain circumstances, push us to reach for more in life. When we deny certain parts of ourselves, we often begin to see these very traits in others. Judging them harshly for what we secretly despise in ourselves, by befriending their shadow, they can learn that wanting more is not inherently bad. It can simply be channeled into positive energy to drive growth and success. While unchecked greed can lead to destructive behavior, when we understand its roots in the shadow, we can use it as motivation to improve our lives. If you've spent a lifetime denying your desire for more and more success, more luxury, you may have been inadvertently limiting your potential. By accepting your desire for success and acknowledging it as a legitimate part of your being, you can use it to push for greater achievements. Because a dose and tea align with their self-image as a peaceful and kind person. However, by acknowledging this anger and befriending it, the person can learn to channel it in healthy ways. Using it as a motivation for positive change, Jung believed that the process of individuation, the journey towards becoming one's true self, can only be completed by integrating the shadow into our conscious awareness. The benefits of befriending the shadow allows us to become more authentic and whole. We often try to suppress certain behaviors or tendencies because they conflict with the image we want to present to the world. However, these traits are still a part of who we are, and denying them only creates a disconnection between our true self and the persona we show to others. By acknowledging and accepting the shadow, we no longer need to live in fear of these traits emerging in an uncontrolled way. When we face our shadow, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, learning from the shadow's wisdom. The shadow, despite being the container of our flaws, also holds deep wisdom. Shadow's advice and practice. When we listen to our shadow, it offers us valuable lessons about ourselves. Greed and ambition. Greed is often seen as a selfish and undesirable trait. For instance, a person who suppresses their ambition because they don't feel worthy might spend their life being content with mediocrity. Anger is a source of justice. Anger is another trait often relegated to the shadow. Society tends to view anger as a weakness or a flaw. For example, when someone suppresses their anger about an unjust situation, they may fail to stand up for themselves or others. Laziness and rest. Laziness is often seen as one of the most undesirable traits to have. The shadow's message in this case might be, you need rest to recharge. Projection. One of the most powerful tools the shadow offers is the ability to see how we project our repressed traits onto others. Jung called this projection. For example, if we are unwilling to face our own laziness, we may start to judge others as lazy without realizing that our criticism is a reflection of our own shadow. The path to authenticity. Ultimately, befriending the shadow is about embracing the full spectrum of our being, our light, and our dark side. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Conclusion: befriending the shadow is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing process. When we talk about self-improvement, there's often a tendency to focus solely on the positive aspects of our personality, striving to enhance our best traits and ignore the negative ones. But what if the key to self-growth lies not in denying the darkness within us, but in embracing it? This concept is explored in Carl Jung's theory of the shadow. In this video, we'll dive into the depths of Jung's ideas and discuss 7 signs you are befriending your shadow. Within each of us lies our inner child, a representation of our younger selves filled with innocence, wonder, and a zest for life. In order to embrace our shadow, we must first learn to accept responsibility for our actions. Deep within us lies a powerful source of guidance, our intuition, subtle inner voice that offers wisdom and direction when we listen closely. Our intuition can lead us to make better decisions, connect with others on a deeper level, and discover our true passions. Assertiveness is a crucial aspect of befriending our shadow, as it allows us to express our needs and stand up for our rights while respecting the rights of others. But why is assertiveness so important in this journey? When we assert ourselves, we are able to communicate our thoughts. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to grow. But the rewards are immeasurable. When we embrace our shadow, we become more whole, authentic individuals, better equipped to handle life's challenges and opportunities. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment with your thoughts. We hope this video has inspired you to continue learning and growing. See you in the next one. Feelings effectively, which helps us establish healthy boundaries and maintain a sense of control over our lives. This is particularly important when dealing with situations that challenge our values, beliefs, or sense of self. By standing up for what we believe in and setting limits when necessary, we demonstrate that we are willing to defend our truth, even in the face of opposition or criticism. This newfound assertiveness allows us to navigate social interactions with confidence and clarity, leading to more authentic and fulfilling relationships. However, many of us ignore or dismiss our intuition, especially when it contradicts our rational mind or societal expectations. Mindfulness is a practice that involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When we are mindful, we are fully engaged in our experiences. It's observing our thoughts and emotions without getting carried away by them. Mindfulness is a key aspect of befriending our shadow because it allows us to become more aware of our thought patterns, emotions, and behaviors. By cultivating mindfulness, we can observe our inner dialogue and challenge any negative or limiting beliefs that may arise. This practice helps us break free from the autopilot mode of living and encourages us to make conscious choices that align with our values and goals. When we are mindful, we are better able to understand the motivations behind our actions and the impact of our decisions on ourselves and others. This deeper awareness enables us to create positive change in our lives and become more intentional about how we interact with the world around us. When we trust our intuition, we are embracing the unknown, venturing beyond the confines of logic and reason. This leap of faith allows us to explore the depths of our being and tap into a wellspring of creativity and insight. By trusting our intuition, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities and allow our true potential to shine through. And this is an important aspect of befriending our shadow, as it helps us connect with our deepest desires and values, guiding us toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. This means acknowledging that we are in control of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and that we are accountable for the consequences of our choices. When we cultivate empathy, we become more compassionate, understanding, and connected to those around us. But why is empathy a sign that we are befriending our shadow? When we empathize with others, we venture into the depths of their emotions, sometimes encountering feelings and experiences that can be uncomfortable or challenging for us to process. This requires us to confront our own biases, limitations, and potential blind spots, which can be a humbling and revealing experience. Through empathy, we gain a deeper understanding of the human condition and the complexities of the world around us. We learn to appreciate the perspectives and experiences of others, even if they differ from our own. This broader perspective allows us to challenge our preconceived notions and biases, leading to personal growth and self-discovery. When we shift our mindset from blame and external factors to personal responsibility, we empower ourselves to make positive changes in our lives. Accepting responsibility is a sign that we are befriending our shadow, because it shows that we are willing to face the truth about ourselves. Even when it is uncomfortable, it allows us to learn from our mistakes and grow into more mature, accountable adults. But sometimes our inner child can get lost or wounded due to negative experiences or unresolved trauma. When we embrace our inner child, we acknowledge and accept this younger part of ourselves, allowing it to heal and grow. This process involves recognizing the needs of our inner child, such as the need for love, attention, and care, and providing them with the nurturing they require to thrive. Embracing our inner child is a significant step in befriending our shadow, because it helps us access the creativity, imagination, and playfulness that they bring into our lives. It also allows us to heal old wounds and integrate the different parts of ourselves, leading to greater wholeness and self-acceptance. Welcome back to another video. Before we start, please subscribe and hit the like button. You've embraced your imperfection. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble to reveal the masterpiece hidden within. In the same way, our lives are shaped by our perception of ourselves. When we strive for perfection, we often find ourselves falling short, leading to feelings of disappointment and dissatisfaction. But what if the secret to contentment lies in embracing our imperfections? Embracing our imperfections, including those aspects of ourselves that we dislike or want to change, is a sign that we are befriending our shadow. This means accepting that we are not perfect and that we don't need to be. It's about recognizing that our flaws and mistakes make us human. When we release the pressure to be perfect, we free ourselves to be more authentic, compassionate, and at peace with who we are. And this newfound freedom can lead to a more fulfilling and joyful life. 2. You have embraced your inner child. 3. You accept responsibility for your actions. 4. You trust your intuition. 5. You are more empathetic towards others. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. 6. You have become more assertive. 7. You are more mindful in your decisions. As we come to the end of this video, remember that befriending our shadow is a journey, not a destination.